My last French Provincial was such a hit that I immediately got requested to do another one. This time, we have a full set. She wants green on the bottom, dark walnut on the top, and definitely new hardware. So let's see what we can do. I get a lot of questions about how I line up so many clients, and I often was confused by that too when I first started out. One of my biggest successes so far is creating an Instagram account to connect with my local community. My normal social media accounts are for promoting the business aspect of furniture flipping, tutorials, and just general flipper content. But this local Instagram page, it's not that. This is a place where I do not focus on pushing content. Rather, I focus on pushing the products that I'm selling. I'm constantly advertising the pieces I have available, and more often than not, I can hook a client without even picking up a product yet. You heard me. I can post photos of things that I'm seeing on Facebook Marketplace that are really interesting to me. Then people reach out and say they want it and they want me to refinish it. So before I've even invested any time or money, I can have a client lined up. This particular client saw my previous work and she knew that she needed a similar set. So I got to work and I found this stunning matching set, and it is so hard to find matching sets, especially with 2 nightstands. But this purchase price was the highest I've paid yet. It was a whopping $220. But I think it was worth it. This was exactly what the client wanted, and the quality was perfect. It saved me a lot of time by buying this nicer set because there were fewer flaws and less time-consuming issues to fix. Typically, in these situations where the purchase price is outside of my normal purchasing range, I have the client eat the cost. So the client will pay for the purchase of the item and then also for my labor. But when I find things that are for, let's say, less than $50, I tend to just give a client a flat final quote that absorbs the purchasing price within it. So if you want to know more about the business aspect, let me know and I can make a full video just for that. But let's jump back into how we're going to transform this set. This set will be a two-tone look, which is personally one of my favorite styles. The finish is already failing on the top, which honestly I prefer to see when I'm looking for pieces. It lets me know that the top is more than likely wood and can be restained. I started out with my scraper tool, but we're going to quickly realize that it's going to take forever to get anywhere with this. So I put on my PPE and got out the acetone. I am always amazed how fast acetone can cut through thick finish. I typically need 2 passes of acetone to get the majority of the finish off. Once I scrape off as much as I can, I let the acetone dry out for 20 minutes, and then I can go in with my sander and grind down the rest of it. I saved myself the trouble on the nightstands and went straight for the acetone this time. I try not to get too close to the edges with acetone because it can really easily dribble off the edges and get down onto the piece. And I know I haven't refinished the bottom part yet, so it's like, what's the harm? But trust me, it does take off the finish and leaves a lot of streak marks down the sides, which in turn just makes more work for me later to smooth it out. So unless you're really fast with a paper towel, try not to let the acetone run over the edges. You'll save yourself a headache later. Once the acetone is dried out, I go in with my sander and take off the remaining finish and the coloring in the wood. Don't use highly aggressive sanding pads though, or you can easily leave yourself with some swirl marks. I typically use 150 grit in this situation. A little trick that I use to make sure I don't have swirl marks is to mist the surface down with water. It mimics how a water-based stain will behave, and it makes it so much easier to identify the flaws in your sanding. One eternity later, and the sanding is all done. Well, at least for the top sections. Now it's time to take off all these lovely poles and scuff sand. You can never skip on scuff sanding. It's probably the most important step. Fortunately, I have a surf prep that makes it a lot easier. It sucks away all the dust and sand, which keeps my workspace so tidy. I used to not have this, and I was always covered in dirt. It was kind of gross. Surf Prep is also cool because it has all these different foam sanding pads. This isn't sponsored, but I do genuinely enjoy using their products, especially when I have such curvy pieces like this one. For scuff sanding, you don't need a heavy grit. Just use a medium grit paper and lightly go over the piece. You really don't need to go too heavy, especially on particle board pieces. You want to go light because you can easily burn through that thin veneer. But I wasn't worrying about burn through on this set. The varnish was way too thick. LOL, FML. Although I have a fancy Festool shop vac sucking all this drama away, the surface still needs wiped down so we can prime and paint. The knobs just got delivered, and unboxing them is one of my favorite steps. They're always so pretty. I usually help my clients pick the right style and color for the project they want, but in this case, she really wanted chrome poles, so that's exactly what we got her. The last step of prepping for this piece of furniture for painting is drilling new holes. The handles my client picked out are a little bit wider than what's on the drawers, so when I need to drill new holes for hardware poles, I always use this hole jig. You can set the spacing between the holes and you really don't need to worry about mess ups. I see a lot of people waiting until the very end of refinishing to drill the holes, but I think that's a bit risky. It is so much easier to drill first, then paint. Do a little fit check. And it fits. Yay! Now we can do this for the rest of them. Per usual, I always use my 2-part Bondo to fill these holes. Wood filler just does not cut it. When dry, Bondo is really tough and super strong, and it only takes about 20 minutes or so to dry. Sometimes though, you do need to go in with a second pass to make sure the hole is completely filled and flush, and on that second pass, that's when you can use something weaker like wood filler. These center drawers are much smaller than the outer ones, so they do require smaller poles. The poles will be the exact same style, just shorter in length, and fortunately for me, the existing holes do not require any adjustments. Time to sand the Bondo smooth and then go all over with the scuff sand. Same thing with the nightstands. I'm using a soft squishy sanding pad that can handle all the curves of this piece. Okay, wait, I lied. We're not ready to paint just yet. We've got to tape off the edges first, especially around the top, and trust me, this curvy shape is not playing around. This part was definitely a skill check, but pro tip, an X-Acto knife is clutch for getting the tape perfect along the edge. Take your time here, it's worth it when you see the crisp line later. Now that our edges are nice and crispy, we can tape down a protective cover to keep the entire top piece protected from when we spray. Rolly rolly, time to wheel her into the spray tent and get some product on her. She's off to the salon, and you already know this girlie's getting the full glow up. But listen, no makeup look lasts without primer, and she does not skip steps. Primer first, always. We're setting the base for that flawless finish. Rinse and repeat on her two little sidekicks. The nightstands are getting the same treatment. They're part of the crew, so they need to match the glow up too. Sometimes when there are these trim pieces, little gaps can become more noticeable once painted white. The primer is a great way to see all these little imperfections. It's kind of a sloppy look to leave these gaps, so take a paintable caulking tube and seal them up. It's really satisfying to do too. I do a color reveal, but you already know this one. She's been living on repeat all year long, and her name is Rosemary, and she's the queen of them all. I keep getting requests for this exact shade. Every time I think I have creative freedom to choose a new color, someone swoops in and asks for this one again. I'm not mad about it though. She's always looking stunning. Coat 1 is dry, and now's a great time to go in with a high grit soft foam pad to knock down those rough spots. Wipe it back and we're off to coat 2. My must-have sprayer is my Greco, and I talk about it all the time, but I really do love it. I was actually at Home Depot today buying other stuff when I saw someone else checking out with the Greco True Coat sprayer, and it made me so happy to see someone else using it. I know they're just gonna love it. I recently renovated my home and the Greco was our workhorse. I used it to spray every single door in this house and it was so awesome. The spray pattern is so large and it doesn't skimp on product. The airless factor gives it a truly flawless finish, no tiger striping or weird rough patches. Oh, and it never clogs. Every single problem I've had with other sprayers, I do not have with this one. If you have the budget, it's totally worth buying. Guys, this is the best part. Let's take a moment to admire this tape peel. Last call on sanding. I do a quick once over with a high grit to make sure we're super smooth before staining. Again, wipe it down, look for any last minute swirl marks that need sanded out. My go-to stain right now is the Bare water-based dark walnut stain. The girlies can't seem to get enough of this lately, and neither can I. Since it's water-based, I use a damp sponge to apply it. No one likes using a dry beauty blender to apply makeup, and wood is no different. But good makeup isn't worth anything without some moisturizer, so make sure to lightly mist the wood with water before applying. It'll help spread the stain very evenly. The first coat usually dries really fast since the wood is porous and absorbent, so we can move on to our second coat pretty quickly. A trick with staining these is to wipe back any stain that gets onto the painted surface. It's inevitable that stain will get on this paint, and it's okay, just use a damp rag and wipe it off. Then while the big dresser was drying, I followed the same process for the nightstands. Another go-to lately has been this Varathane water-based top coat. It's always been really durable and easy to work with. And I do prefer the water-based products because they're so much easier to clean up after, and I can keep reusing my sanding sponges. I have a sink in my shop where I just rinse them out and they're really good to get reused. So I think that's a win, and you can save money by not having to rebuy rags and rebuy a lot of products. For this product though, I do recommend putting on 3 coats and lightly sanding in between coats to make sure it's really smooth. And again, I do wipe off any excess that gets down onto the paint just for a really nice clean finish. One of my final steps that I do when I add the knobs is to give the inside of the drawers some love. These solid wood drawers are in great shape, but they need brought back to life with some wood conditioner. A little reminder where we started, and now where we ended. She got her glow up and I'm obsessed all over again. This color, it just never misses. It'll be joining a family as they start a new chapter in their life, and I'm honored that I could help them with this fresh start. You know how you used to rearrange the furniture in your childhood room and it felt so cool again? I get that feeling every single time someone has the opportunity to redo their bedroom with a piece of furniture that I got to refinish. It brings me so much joy. So the question I know you're all wondering, what is the profit for all of this work? I charge my client $1,000 for labor, and she also asked for a delivery, which I charged $80 for. So what do you think? Was it worth it? Thanks for watching. Come back in 2 weeks for a dark and moody transformation.